All right, so I want to tell you a little story about weight loss and how the scales work. Back in 2010, I think it was, I did a little bit of a science experiment on myself where I tried out an intermittent fasting routine. It was a 4-week intermittent fasting protocol, and it involved, from memory, 16 hours per day of fasting, and that left about 8 hours for eating. So the way it would work is the first 8 hours of my 16-hour fast were while I was asleep, and then if I woke up at 6, I'd then eat at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So for somebody who was at the time getting up quite early and going through quite a bit of brain power, I was having to think and do quite a bit of or use a lot of cognition in my job. It was absolutely torturous. What then happened, though, at 2 o'clock, I was allowed to have my first meal, and then I was allowed to eat as much as I wanted until I went to bed. Now, being a Whole Foods enthusiast, I was only eating good food. So I was eating all the same stuff that I was usually eating, but I was having that extended fast from when I went to bed and then ate in the afternoon. Now, what it meant was that I was probably having about 50 to 60% of the calories that I was having. But a very peculiar thing happened. You would expect that on 50 to 60% of calories, the scales would have changed dramatically and quickly, but they didn't. So for the first 2 weeks, the scales barely moved at all. I started off the protocol at 100 kilos and 10% body fat on a DEXA scan. Then 2.5 weeks in, the scales started to drop daily, like big drops. And by the time I got to 4 weeks, which was only a week and a half after the scales started shifting, I dropped 8 kilos. I went and had a DEXA scan, and I can't remember the exact numbers, but I was 8 kilos lighter. So I think I was 92 kilos and 7 or 8% body fat. So quite a bit of that weight loss had been muscle. But the point I'm making here is that weight loss is never linear, okay? We are, and our body is, the signature of everything we have done in our life to this point. We are a result of a long-term average. How much muscle you have and how much body fat you have is an insight into what you have done on average for a long, long time. So to expect to start a diet, if you're, let's say you're 35 years old, if you think you can start a diet and after 1 week or 2 weeks or even 3, see a whole big change, you're missing the point. And that's that we're all subject to long-term averages, and it takes a little bit longer than that for the body to register that there has been a change. The body will always try to hold on and keep things the same. That's known as homeostasis. It's maintaining an average, and it takes a little bit of convincing for it to actually start to change, for you to see those numbers go down.